All right, welcome back to another episode of Small Guys Podcast. Today we're doing Avatar: The Way of the Water. Before we get into that, we're kind of gonna get into some movie news. Since we probably won't have time next week. Um, it's only me, Andrew, and Mikey on this episode.
Yeah, the
But
other
yeah, let's get
two,
right into it.
the other two are, they're such big haters of Avatar that they didn't want to see it.
And to be fair, the last time we talked about it, I was hating on it, and I was hating
I
on
was
James
too.
Cameron too.
I was.
I think we all did like a couple months ago. We were like, this
Yeah.
movie's gonna be shit. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you'll hear our thoughts, but I don't think that anymore.
Okay, so this is the first thing on here. I found this really interesting. It just happened like an hour ago. Federal judge has ruled that movie studios can be sued over false advertising if they release deceptive movie trailers. So, for an example, in Infinity War, in the Infinity War trailer, they show like Hulk running through Wakanda. That's fake. Obviously, it was a way for Marvel to kind of trick us. That's kind of an example of what a false, deceptive movie trailer is. This comes
Really?
this comes from two Ana de Armas fans who filed a lawsuit after renting the movie yesterday because she appears in the trailer but did not appear in the movie itself because she got cut out.
See, so I feel like that's a little bit different. If you expect to see an actor in the movie, like a individual person, but when you're talking about like animated things, like not seeing the
But that is
Hulk,
Mark Ruffalo
yeah. Oh, is that him after he worked
as the
out,
Hulk.
or
I don't
I
know.
don't know. I
I'm
feel
just
like
saying
that's
that's an
What
example
movie?
of
What
yeah.
movie for her?
It's called It's yesterday. It's the
Oh, that's yesterday's
Beatles.
news.
It's
Then
the
we don't care.
Beatles. Yeah, it's the Beatles movie. But she was supposed to be in it. She was in like a trailer of it, but she didn't actually appear in it. But they rented it because she was in it and they're big fans of her. But
Hmm.
yes, I don't know.
I
So I
feel
thought that
like
was pretty interesting.
that's a lot of room for interpretation,
That's
and
Yeah.
fair though. That's fair compared to like
yeah,
Mark Ruffalo. Like
that's yeah, I get that.
That's
that's
just an
stupid.
example they used, but I mean, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. Black Adam's budget ballooned to 260 million after costly reshoots. It only made 391 million at the worldwide box office.
Only.
The film will not be profitable, theoretically. And the Rock says Black Adam will be involved in the DCU's won't be involved in the DCU's first storytelling chapter, but he will be used down the line when DC explores the multiverse. So I guess they're planning way ahead, or at least he is.
Yeah, we all saw Black Adam though, and kind of had,
Yeah.
or at least I think we had the same thoughts that it was a kind of a forgettable movie.
Yeah, it won't
For the
be
most
it won't be
Very,
profitable theatrically. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
very
So yeah,
mid.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I think it honestly, I think with like advertisement and all that stuff, I think it needed to make 500 million to be like profitable.
What did
Oh,
it make
geez.
again?
It made 391.
Oh my
91 as
god,
of
man.
Yeah, the
recording.
budget for the movie ballooned to 260 million, but usually they double it once they do the marketing and everything like that.
Well, don't give the Rock 100 fucking million for a movie. And
That's a good point. Yeah, it is crazy though. You can just throw his name on a project and it balloons to 391 million as of recording.
how is
That's
with this like
insane.
cult following? How does that not even surpass like 500 half a billion
I don't
dollars? That makes
know.
no sense.
Yeah, and they tried to use the Henry Cavill Superman thing being in it like as part of a reason to go see the movie.
Yeah,
So,
people said fuck that movie still.
yeah, and speaking of Henry Cavill announces he is no longer returning as Superman. We mentioned this might be a possibility last week, but we weren't sure. Now we know for sure. This is probably the last time we'll be talking DC. Hopefully for the next few weeks. I feel like the last few weeks we've been just talking about everything they're
Yeah.
canceling, but now we know for sure. Like it seems like they're doing a complete wipe reset, which I think is probably the
Thank
best.
you.
Probably a good call.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
they want
James
to
Gunn.
Yeah.
focus on I guess an earlier Superman, like earlier in his life, not an origin story, but younger Superman, and apparently James Gunn's writing the script for it. So I don't think
Good,
he's going to
good.
direct, but he's writing it, so that'll be good.
We've said it time and time again. It's the same every time DC puts out one of these like start of the universe movies. It's like it's usually not that great. Then they
Yeah.
got to restart again. They need to just put all their eggs. I mean, you're not supposed to do that. Put all the eggs in one basket and figure out a storyline and then roll from there.
Yeah. Well, and with Flashpoint, the Flashpoint movie they're doing, they could reset it that way too. You
I
know?
was gonna say they have a really good out, and that's probably why Urza Miller hasn't been fucking thrown out of Hollywood in general, just
Yeah.
because he still has the Flash role. and just because they're probably relying on the movie so much just to kind of reset things.
Yeah. That or yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously they need a new Flash too, so I think it's good that they're resetting everything. But yeah. Yeah,
Grant
Mike,
Gustin, Grant
yeah.
Gustin, man.
Oh, I wish. Amazon confirms Invincible 2, season 2 is
Ugh,
premiering in 2023. I don't know if you guys seen that.
yes, that is
You
I
a
watched
have
it, right,
to.
Andrew?
I still have to watch it.
It's up there with
oh
like The
Mike,
Boys.
you gotta watch it.
It's only 8
Yeah,
episodes.
yeah, it's 8
Season 1.
episodes. It's animated. So at first I'm like, oh, this is gonna be really stupid. And I actually the first episode, you're hooked. Right at the end. I'm not gonna spoil it, but end of the first episode, you're like, all right, I'm gonna watch the whole show.
Yeah.
So and I remember I started this, I was like, I am really not about to. I think maybe you recommended it, Josh, or not sure how I heard it, but no, I'm
Brian
actually
loves
really
it too.
Brian, yeah, no, Invincible is an awesome show. Really like what they're doing with it. It's what'd you say, like maybe also kind of a darker look on superheroes to a degree.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Mm. The new trailer for Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer came out.
So fucking excited
Oppenheimer,
for that.
sorry. Yeah, Oppenheimer. Yeah, we saw the cast too. The movie looks like insane. It sucks that it doesn't come out till July, right? So it's like it
Yeah.
sucks that we gotta wait that long. But I know we're all really excited.
I'm okay. Christopher Nolan seems to put out some fucking artwork every time he produces a movie, so take your time and make it good. Although
I think Aiden said like the worst thing he's seen from him recently was Tenet. Which that's a great movie. So if that's his worst, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but I can
like
also
movie standards.
I can understand that the Tenet actually got a fair amount of criticism, and I can understand it. It was just because it was. I mean, you had to. That was not a sit back and relax movie. That was a be actively engaged kind of movie. But I like that too.
And it welcomed like a second viewing.
Yes.
Thing too, you know. So
yeah.
and from what normal movies are, that's pretty up there.
Oh yeah.
You know, just for Christopher Nolan, that being on the lower tier for him, but still for other people, it's pretty high up. But yeah, I think from the cast, we're all pretty excited about it, and I don't know, looks really good.
You know what's funny? I've never even watched Peaky Blinders, but I'm just like a Cillian Murphy like fan, just from like seeing like clips of him and like his like different like movies and different like things he's been in. Just like from what I've seen, he's just an amazing actor from the probably 15 culmination of 15 minutes I've seen of him total. So
dude, him and Tom Hardy, like I need to watch Peaky Blinders too. I really need to. I've never heard a bad thing about it, really. James Cameron is looking to reboot the Terminator franchise. He says that nothing's been decided, but I would make it much more about the AI side of things rather than the bad robots gone crazy. So
I think that'd be kind of cool. Especially you guys may not know that, but like in the last like 3 weeks, there was actually a huge jump in AI in the real world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's this new like bot that you can basically like, it's kind of going to eliminate a lot of jobs in the next like year or two.
I saw there was one that can write like full blogs and essays.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that Chat GTP, I don't want to butcher it, but yeah, it came out like recently, like fully fledged, and it's honestly a little bit terrifying.
Dude, it makes jokes and everything. Like
yeah, no, it's actually like
trying to read,
and it's learning. So in like the last 3 weeks, it's made a ton of advancements, and it's like it was just released. So we might not be doing the podcast next year.
The day AI gets emotional intelligence is the day that we're all gonna die. You can clip that. You can say whatever you want about that. It's just the honest to God truth.
Mike, your clip right here is going out on the internet. AI is gonna grab that and it's gonna broadcast it everywhere after it eliminates us.
Avatar: The Way of Water crosses 500 million mark, not even a week old. But the rumor is the budget for this movie was about 460 million, making it the most expensive movie of all time. That being said, I want to say that for last, just to get us right into the movie. Let me read the synopsis really quick. This movie is set more than a decade after the events of the first film. Avatar: The Way of the Water begins to tell the story of the Sully family, Jake, Neytiri, and their kids, and the trouble that follows them. The lengths they go to keep each other safe, and the battles they fight to stay alive, and the tragedies they endure. This movie is 3 hours and 12 minutes long. It's got a 78% critic score, but a 93% audience score. What did you guys think of this movie?
Well, before we drive into that,
Mhm.
disclaimer, we're gonna butcher some names here. For
Yeah.
the people in this movie, we were all looking it up beforehand, trying to make sure we could nail it down. But just disclaimer, it's not gonna be perfect. With that said, I actually just saw this movie prior to us recording this, like hours before this, so it's really fresh on my mind. I
Mhm.
really enjoyed this movie. I saw it from these two guys' recommendation. They said see it in the 3D Epic at the theater by us, and I definitely think it's one you want to see in 3D. What a cool experience this movie is.
Well, just so if anyone doesn't know, how would you explain what Epic is? It's not really IMAX, but it's close enough, right?
Yeah, it's our local theater. It's their version of I think it's technically the Dolby standard, so it's Dolby
Yeah.
Atmos and Dolby Vision, but they call it Epic because that's probably easier to
And you could
market.
definitely tell a difference from that and a normal theater, right?
Yeah, I think it's just Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, but it's just easier
Yeah.
for them to market it as Epic.
Yeah, the screen's
Yeah.
bigger, it looks a little better, it's louder, right?
Yeah.
Just to kind of explain what Epic is, but yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and they also had the 3D turned on or whatever. Maybe they had a new projector for this movie. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But definitely, I'm not even a 3D person. I actually really despise 3D. I never got into the gimmick when it came out originally. Actually, with this movie, it wasn't for me. But no, this is a movie you should definitely see in 3D. Even if you're not a fan, just watch this one and then never do it again until the next Avatar comes out. Uh, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie though. I'll let you guys kind of spew in some thoughts.
So, Josh, me and you kind of talked about it, and we're having some back and forth in the group chat about this. One of the coolest movie experiences I think I've had with 3D and Epic, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no,
No,
go
you go
on.
ahead.
You can go on.
I was just gonna compare it to the other like great experiences we've all had. I think like things like Infinity War and Endgame, like Thor arriving to Wakanda or whatever, or Captain America picking up the hammer. Like there's moments in the theater which you'll never forget. And
Yeah.
I'm just saying this experience I had with Avatar is something I won't forget.
Yeah, actually, after watching it today, I was like, oh my gosh, I almost wish I don't think I was in town. I think I was on vacation. But I wish we would have maybe seen this when it came out for that
Yeah.
initial. There wasn't
Opening.
really any big wow moments off the top of my head that I can think of. I mean, there was, shocking scene with the death Ken jumps, but I don't remember anything too wowing. But the
Spoiler
whole
alert.
yeah, that's part of the review. But the whole movie itself is stunning. That's the cool thing. It's
So fucking beautiful.
yeah,
I mean, we
like
get why it's the most expensive movie of all time.
yeah. I mean, the
Makes
whole thing
sense.
is fucking Actually, fun fact: none of this movie is CGI. This all.
They're
It's all
real
real.
people, actually.
Yeah, these are real people. They
We
actually
visited another Earth to actually shoot this movie.
no,
Yeah.
but absolutely stunning. I'm a big like kind of just fan of like nature and stuff, and that's kind of a hobby for me. And stuff in the water. So like this was just a cool movie. Like it definitely had like a I don't know if you guys felt this, but like a not a religious, but like a spiritual undertone of the whole entire movie.
Million
Uh,
percent.
yeah, big like drive with family being a huge passion, and that's something that's like kind of important in my life. So I don't know, this is one that I was like, wow, I kind of feel this on like a little bit of a deeper level than just like the brief screening. I was like, this is a pretty damn good
And
movie.
with that, something to piggyback off of that, actually. I think that's the first problem I had with the first movie, which I, to be honest with you, didn't rewatch before watching the second one. And I honestly cannot tell you pretty much any minor detail in that movie. I just remember that it was really cool, has a really big cult following, and I enjoyed watching it because it looked good. But
Yes.
I think comparing the second one to the first one, from what I remember, I think just that like emotional connection and just building the relationships within the characters and more of the subplots is more of the focus, I think, for this movie. And obviously it looks amazing, and that's what's going to pull a lot of people in. But
Yeah.
the second movie compared to the first movie, it definitely has more of like an emotional side to it, I think.
No, I completely agree with that. I just watched the first movie actually like 2 days ago before I saw this because I couldn't remember it at all. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch it. It's on whatever it was on Disney Plus or something. I was like, I'm gonna check it out because I don't remember it. Now after seeing both, 100% agree with that statement, Mike. This movie is way more emotional. The first one's like beautiful, like it's a good movie, like don't get me wrong, but it's very forgettable, unfortunately. I like rewatching it. I was like, I had some even appreciation. I told Josh, I said, wait, this came out in what, 2012? He's like, no, 2008. I was like, holy shit.
9.
Or 9? Was it 9?
Yeah.
Okay, 2009. And I was like, holy shit, like this movie holds up to, unfortunately, as sad as it is, some of the newer Marvel projects.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty bad for a movie in 2009. So definitely have some appreciation from like the art standpoint of that original one, but the second one, you've got the emotional side and the art that just blows it away. Absolutely.
They had to wait for technology to be made to make the second film for a lot of the underwater stuff that I was reading. I don't know, like I'm not a nerd. I don't know exactly what the technology was by any means, but I know they had to wait on a little bit of it just to actually be able to film some of the things they wanted to film to not look like Aquaman and, you know, wavy hair and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
bad scenes.
that's like James Cameron. He wants to be a perfectionist and basically be the new wave and invent something new when he's making a movie.
He's a
this
cocky
scale.
motherfucker, man.
He is, but like, I mean, he can kind of get away with it. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah, because he's delivering.
those water scenes. It's like,
Oh my god. I will say, like, maybe it was the 3D, but I mean, you feel pretty like engulfed and sucked into this movie, like as you're watching it. Like you,
yeah. I mean,
at
he
least,
had his characters stop and take pauses to look around at things, like as an
yeah.
excuse for us to do it, and it's amazing.
No,
It's really amazing.
yeah, they like the whole time I'm watching it, I'm thinking like I could see, you know, we criticized Avatar a couple months ago saying like, oh, this is stupid. Hopefully they don't make a third and a fourth one.
I
And
did it a
I'm
couple of days ago, but
yeah, and after seeing this, I'm like, damn, I could see how you could make like a fucking universe out of this. Like this could be a big thing in it. Like I can get the after seeing the second one and seeing that emotional side of it and just seeing how beautiful they can make this and colorful and all these different connections. I liked how I really think it's awesome in this like Avatar universe on Pandora, how they are so connected with like nature and the animals there. I think that's so cool. And then you see, you know, the humans show up and blow everything
ruin
up
everything.
because that's what we do.
Well, so that's the thing. In the first movie, and they showed it at the beginning of this too. First movie is about the forest, whereas this movie is about the sea. And
Yes.
in the first movie, it shows like deforestation, and them trying to take over the planet and everything like that, and cutting down these trees, or even at the beginning of this movie, catching them all on fire, right? And then in this, they see whale-like creatures being attacked by human beings and being, salvaged and stuff like that. So that's the like underlining tone which you mentioned earlier, Andrew. It's like the first movie is about protecting our forests, and I feel like the second movie is like protecting our seas.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what I felt from watching.
no, I think that's a good interpretation. It
Sky
really
coming next.
Maybe.
it makes you self-reflect a little bit. Not that, you know, any of us are going to unfortunately go out there and change what we're doing to like the environment single-handedly, but like with a group effort, hopefully. But I was just like, every time there were like the humans on the scene, I just thought like, oh, disgusting. Like they show like the human city, and it's just this big industrial metal gray thing, and I'm just like, oh man, like
Bunch of cowards.
yeah,
Well, that was the part people hated about the first movie, was that some of the movies spent with like the humans, and they're like, we want to get back to the blue people. Where I feel like this movie was mainly like the blue people, which I liked a lot.
Which I liked a lot, yeah. And
Yeah.
when you saw, you know, humans, like I said, you were just like, oh, like here they are, gonna fucking ruin something. I was really confused. Kind of jumping a little bit towards the middle, sort of the end of the movie, when they're like hunting the whale, and you're
Yeah, they're like
I don't-
Tolkien's, they're called.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it
Yeah.
a whale though, because it, you know, resembles
Okay.
a whale.
Yeah.
It the whole time I'm sitting there like, what the fuck are they doing? Did I miss something? Did they, I mean, I know they showed at the end that they're, you know, milking it for something in its brain, but that whole time they're like trying to capture it, I was really confused. I don't know if did they say it before what they were doing?
Yeah, so that's their job. So they work
I didn't
there.
I really didn't know until they were like done with the
Yeah, so
process.
that goo that they're getting out of their brain is a serum that humans can take to stop aging
No,
completely.
no, no. I
Yeah.
know that. I know that once they did it. But did they say beforehand what they were doing? Or was that part of the movie that you were just
That's what their job is. That's what their thing is. So the reason Quirich is joining them, the antagonist of this film, is to kind of he has a feeling Jake Sully's around and that this tribe that he's hunting down use these creatures. So that's why he's kind of tagging along and joining them and working with them. So it's like they do this regularly where they're on these boats and hunt these
okay.
whale-like creatures.
Yeah,
so
I
that
guess
is a normal thing for them.
that's one critique that I have about this movie is with the villain Quirich. His like I don't know, it just seemed a little stupid. Like he just has this personal vendetta to kill him so badly.
Well, he killed him in the
Well,
first
he killed
movie.
him in the first one.
I know, but like you got your second chance at life. What you're gonna spend?
Well, that's
your
what was
full
cool.
time?
So at the beginning of the movie, when he finds his corpse, which he loaded
Yeah.
himself into an avatar, which is cool. I like that. But he finds his body and he finds Neytiri's arrows in him. And throughout the movie, you see when he runs into Neytiri and sees
Looking
his
at
arrows,
him.
he like looks at them. Yeah, you can tell it's like hitting him in this way
Hitting
where
him,
he's
yeah, a
kind of
little
scared
bit.
of her but wants vengeance. So I think that's kind of cool. I like that. And then he like crushes his human skull. I thought that was
I
kind of
saw
cool.
that too. I was like, that made me think like too like that. Maybe I was just taking everything deep, but I was like, man, it was just like he was just like this like body basically. Like all of his memories can be transferred and stored in his consciousness, and he just like crushes his old
So
form.
with that, then what do you guys think about the new character introduced, Spider?
Yeah, his son, who he says he's not his son, but technically he is,
But,
right?
yeah.
And two, they kind of he takes Spider and has him speak for him and help him learn the ways of the planet and everything like that. And they kind of you notice it a few times where they're like bonding a little bit, like where they're flying and having fun and things like that. So
He
I was
took
picking
Spider
up.
under his wing.
Yeah, he took Spider under his wing. I was like kind of like figuring that I like the father son connection that they're starting to build there.
I think a lot of it had to do with Quirich always kind of being like a more like that military grunt marine style kind of mentality, and he saw the alternative to Spider being back to the being a lab rat. Oh, they're gonna start. You want to come with me and get your hands dirty, or you want to be sitting under? You're gonna be examined under the microscope for the best rest of your life. And in his eyes, he thought the idea of we'll go out there and shoot, like that's I don't know, the better outcome. Where Spider really just wanted to live with the Na'vi people because that's how he grew up and what he understands.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, sorry.
I was gonna say the whole time I was thinking though, like when is his mask gonna run out of oxygen? I was thinking that I'm like, what is this unlimited oxygen in this fucking mask? I did think that.
I mean, to skip ahead to the end because we're talking about these two characters, do you think him kind of dropping the knife for Spider, because Neytiri had Spider under the knife, do you think that was earned?
What do you mean?
So like basically Neytiri had the knife to Spider's neck and was saying, no, you drop your weapon and I'll drop mine and stuff like that.
Son for a son.
Yeah, son for a son. And he drops it and he gives in,
Yeah.
Do you think that was earned? Do you think, and then him saving Quirich from drowning, do you think that was earned? Their relationship together, saving each other like that, do you think that was earned?
I think it's
because I feel like Spider watching Quirich like melt those huts down and hurt these innocent people and stuff like that. I feel like that kind of pulled back on it a little bit where they're pushing it. I don't know.
As soon as he saw like, oh, he was willing to drop the knife, I guess well, I mean, you see when he goes to, we are at the end of the movie now here where we're going with this, but we'll kind of talk through the whole thing. When he goes to save Quirich, he literally is hesitating. I think he actually says fuck, like he literally
says fuck.
Yeah, I mean, his mission is to kill the Sullys, right? So it's like, wow, he actually gave in to save Spider's life, who he doesn't even feel is really his son.
Yeah, but
right?
he saves his life but then he leaves too. You know what I mean? Like he's like, all
He
right,
doesn't leave.
come
He
on.
fights Jake. Technically, Spider leaves.
Yeah, no, I mean towards the end, Spider, you know, and Quirch after he gets him on that rock, and Quirch's bird,
Yeah.
the big.
Well, I think it wasn't he offering to give him a ride or something like
Yeah,
that.
he
or
was,
have-
and he was like, "No, screw
Yeah.
you, not dad, kind of dad."
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think,
I
think
guess.
that
Go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, I don't think that Quirrell necessarily didn't think that Spider wasn't his son. I think he just said that to him.
Yeah.
Just
He
to
didn't
kind of
want to
like
admit it.
he didn't want to admit it pretty much. But I don't think it was necessarily earned, Spider saving him, but I do think that it was warranted just because of obviously everything that happened throughout the movie, but the fact that he actually did drop the knife for him says something about that. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, imagine growing up, without a dad and, going your whole life, like having this resentment towards him, and you get that little ounce
Not
of
only
hope.
that, but yeah, he's an outcast. He's the only human.
Yeah.
I mean, there were other humans, but really the only one that was like living with them.
He's
But
like
he
a stray cat.
he got that little ounce of hope in a sense of like maybe he is redeemable just because
Yeah.
of that one action that was
Yeah.
so recent, obviously a couple minutes beforehand. So like,
Yeah.
again, not earned, but it was definitely warranted.
I like when you see it's right at the end there. Spider witnesses. I'm gonna butcher her name.
Neytiri.
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 He's witnessing her like take these people down, like just soldier after soldier, and he's like, because she's like truly a native. She is someone from the land. She's not a hybrid. And you can tell that he's a little bit scared. He's like peeking around that thing. He's just watching her just brutally just take these people down. Like, holy shit, maybe I think you can tell that he's kind of maybe not second guessing, but like thinking things through. Like, holy shit, maybe these people are kind of scary. And then obviously she ends up with him at knife at the throat and is saying like, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Like, I no longer see Spider as I want my kids. Like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. And you're just like, whoa, shit.
Two things on that. One little thing at first. So she slits it and he starts bleeding.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that throughout the rest of the movie. That's something, if you think about that, like you really don't see him like even like a cut on his neck at all.
Yeah, and there would be a little bit of blood.
There would be a little bit of blood, I think.
Little
and then,
and
and then the second thing, I think that just shows kind of a little bit of character development with Neytiri. And just it shows a different side of her pretty much. Like, I don't think we've ever seen more of like that like second instinct, like that predator type.
Well, you can tell right after their son dies that she kind of goes like, fucking mama bear, and is like, I'm gonna fucking kill everyone and anything in my way.
Well, she freaks out before that. She's like,
yes,
slowly has to pull her together. And once like he kind of like centers her back to like, like, hey, you got to be a mom, you got to be a leader here. And I think kind of that part, and it's character development. It shows a different side of her that we haven't seen throughout the first couple movies from what I've remembered.
So let's talk about Netium. Was that the son's name that died? Did I say that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? I cried.
I shed some tears for sure.
I was like, holy shit, they're gonna kill a kid in this movie. I don't know. I was really caught off guard the whole time. I'm thinking like, I think it was just because when Jake saw the bullet had like gone through him and he figured, oh, this punctured a lung or a heart, and like he already, you can tell he knows he's gonna die. And everyone out, because his Marine experience and being in battle and stuff
just
like that.
Just comforting him.
Yeah. And I think it took everyone else a little bit long, just a couple extra seconds. But you're just sitting there and I'm like, oh my God. And I mean, I wasn't bawling my eyes out, but I did shed a tear. I was like, fuck, this is too much. Like, you're killing kids in this movie, but it really, brings them together, gives them some anger, but that caught me off guard. I was surprised by that, especially like, that's the oldest brother. That's their first kid. Like, there's so much attachment there. So that was hard. I'm sure you guys had the same.
Well, 100%. That was one of the many moments actually I had a couple tears, at least wanting to flow through.
Yeah.
But I think, with that, like it was kind of foreshadowed almost, with his younger brother always kind of getting them in trouble. And
Yes.
always like having the bigger brother, obviously, Natayam,
Natium.
Natium, having
Yeah.
him take the blame always, and always be the one to kind of save things if it's not Sully. So I think it was foreshadowed almost, but kind of, that's another part of, I think, the younger brother, Loke, his character development too. I think it's making him step up in a sense, and
Yeah.
almost grow up and kind of get a hold of himself.
Yeah,
he can't be taking these risks that he's normally taking. He has to not be a child. He has to be a leader.
Yeah, and I mean, you get to see that when him and his dad or Jake are trapped in the boat there at the end, or the ship, and they're like slowly about to drown, and he's like, I really liked that, how he was like comforting his dad. He's like telling his dad, like, no, this is how you got to breathe. Like, we got to, you can get through. Like, we're gonna get through this. This is what we're gonna do. And I was just like, holy shit, like this is the younger brother. I don't know, the character development in this movie, like watching them, like each person kind of grow, was absolutely awesome. I don't know what I would change about that. I thought that was pretty incredible.
Well, then too, like Kiri saves Natiri too, so it's like the kids did save the parents from
Yeah.
drowning. So, which is really really cool.
I hate that I'm actually gonna fucking say this, because James Cameron, so he was asked in an interview before the premiere. He's like, like the interviewer asked him, is like, it's like a 3-hour movie. People are gonna have to get up and pee. Like, when do you think is a good time for people to get up and go use the bathroom? And he replied, anytime you want, because when you go see it for a second time, you can see what you missed. And that just pisses me off so much, because it's so arrogant and so cocky. But
it's so true.
Following that up, I want to go see this again now that we're fucking talking about this, to be honest with you.
I don't think I'd want to miss any. I did sit through this whole movie and did not get up.
We didn't get up either.
Yeah, no, I watched there were only a couple of people in the theater that were there. There was probably 5 people total. I don't think anyone got up. I mean, I was kind of locked into the movie. Someone, I guess, could have. I wasn't paying attention that much, other than to the movie. I can't say I always do that. I feel like usually someone gets up, my head's on a swivel immediately. Honestly, something could have happened. Someone could have got up. I was pretty locked into this one, which is pretty cool. No, another critique though that I have about the third act and like towards the end is, I was kind of, maybe it was just in my mind, the like Water Clan, those people, yeah, where'd they go?
Yeah, I know. I thought that too.
They just, I'm like,
halfway through the fight, they're done.
Yeah, I don't know. In my head, maybe I'm like predisposed to Endgame and the last Star Wars movie. I'm thinking there's gonna be this absolutely massive battle. The sea people, the land people, everyone's coming through. No, didn't have that. Which, the movie was great, but I don't know, in my head, I kind of figured that was gonna happen, or at least like the land people. It's weird. They like show up for a second. He must call them because they come with all their medical equipment, and then they're gone. Like, that was it. They flew in, they flew out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was like, I guess my only critique is like, they were there for the battle for 10 minutes and then like what? Called it a day, went home, went to bed.
Yeah, and the whale helping like fight too, going on the boat like that was sick.
Yeah, that was cool. You can see, I mean, you know what's going to happen. You're just waiting for Plo Koon. What was the whale? What was his name?
The Outcast whale.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I know.
There's so many names. Like, I couldn't even tell you.
I know their thing. I know their
James Cameron needs to send me a sheet. So
I know they're Tolkien's, but I don't know what the name.
I think its name was like Plo-Took or something like that. I don't know. I'm probably, someone's gonna comment and say.
That's the one thing about this movie and just franchise. Like, chill on the names, man. Like, fuck, dude. There's too many. Like, there's too many. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna need like a spreadsheet to understand who everyone is. But no, you're seeing that that whale token. kind of, it's getting ready to attack, and you're waiting, stuff's about to hit the fan, and but you're excited, and they did a really good job of that. The suspenseful moments when, that third act, when you got these different plots going on at the same time of like people in these life or death situations. You're like, oh, where do I focus my attention? They also just had a son die. Like, I don't know. There's a lot going on, but I liked it. It still felt like it was all making a good progress and going at the same pace.
Yeah. Yeah. So the son part got me, but what really got me with the son was at the very end when he's learning to hunt with his dad. That I had a teardrop come down. Dude. And the other sad part was when the whale and her baby were getting hunted. That part got me. No, that was hard to fucking watch.
So did the baby survive or no?
No, they both died.
I thought the baby survived.
I thought the baby survived.
They killed. So they show when they actually like show taking the harpoons off the mom, you see the baby right next to her dead. But yeah, the last shot you see is the baby looking in the mom's eye and the mom's eye rolling back. But yeah, they both end up dying. And like that whole scene, like you knew kind of where it was going, but it was like, and the fact that they explained that they're smarter than them probably and all this other stuff.
Yeah, that they're more emotional. I think so. I mean, that just shows how well this movie did with like an emotional undertone. And I felt the same thing. I don't know if I shed a tear at that point, but you're feeling some emotional attachment to essentially something that cannot talk.
Mm-hmm.
That is just a massive whale. It was in the movie for 15 minutes total, that one whale. And you're sad. Like, that's pretty incredible. I gotta give them credit for that. Like, I don't know, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and when Kate Winslet's character Renal, who's like the queen of the water tribe, finds her and they're like linked as sisters, and she just starts screaming and crying. It's like you feel it, right? So
yeah, and she had just seen really cool. They had just gotten back the Tokun. She had just talked to her, and I did like how there was like throughout the movie, like occasionally like a little narration. I liked that. And they would, and they were like, and this, they're back and da da da. I actually kind of liked that. Not a lot of movies really do that. Ever.
Yeah, I know they did that a little bit in the first movie, and that's what was cool about the first movie was like when Jake was like learning the way of the Force people and like trying to adapt to them. I love how they did that in this movie too, where they have to then adapt to the water people too. Yeah, so it's like we got to see them try to learn and adapt, and like that way we saw it mainly through the kids. But I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah, and then at the end, obviously they're accepted. Jake's like, we're gonna pack our family and go, and he's like, no, your son's like dead here. Like you are us now. And I was just like, oh.
Yeah. So I think that's gonna be a big part of the third movie.
Yep.
Is I think we're gonna have more of like that group like build-up fight that you were talking about at the end compared to the more personal. I don't think it was more of like a person more of like a bigger fight for this movie, just because the Quaritch because he came back to life pretty much. It's personal, and I think just because of that being unresolved and the water people tribe, like this is really bad. I feel stupid even
I know I feel same here.
But just like them not kind of being tied to that storyline, I think that's why there wasn't that big of a big group fight. And I think we'll see more of that in the third and upcoming films after that, possibly if they get green lighted, because now they are tied into the storyline and it's personal for them because of losing one of the tokens and stuff like that.
Well, I just want to mention it because we just mentioned the third movie. James Cameron rumored to have handed in a 9-hour cut of Avatar 3 to Disney. And he wants to do VFX for all 9 hours before he decides to cut it down. That's insane.
That'd be crazy if they do release like a 5-hour movie or something. They'd have to have an intermission.
Well, this cut for this movie was supposed to be over 4 hours, but 9 hours. And he wants it to be all edited in VFX before he cuts it down.
So that's
which is
pretty, I
insane.
mean, that's pretty awesome though. That means that, I mean, if you've got, I don't know how long movies usually, like how much they overshoot compared to what it's actually compressed to. I mean, hey, we kind of added this podcast. We don't usually overshoot that much, you know. We are cutting a little bit here and there and a little bit in between here and there, but to think that like you have 9 hours of content, you're gonna probably, I'm gonna say the max they're gonna comfortably do is like maybe 340, and that's like a long ass movie.
Yeah.
Like, so that means that you're gonna have, you know, another 4, 5, maybe 6, who knows what'll actually happen, of content that won't even be in the movie. So you're gonna have like an absolute fucking masterpiece.
Well, I think there was an extended or director's cut for the first Avatar movie, so I think people are hoping that this one has that extra hour that was cut. But like the thing is it's James Cameron, right? So I mean, we just talked about it earlier with him being kind of cocky and stuff like that. Most, if not all, directors kind of have this almost deadline that they have to hit, maybe besides like Tarantino and Christopher Nolan, but they have these like deadlines that they have to hit by this time to have it in the studio. We can only shoot like 45 more days, yada yada. James Cameron decides, he wakes up, I want to write some Avatar. I want to record some Avatar today. Literally, it's his choice to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. He writes, produces, directs. He does everything. This is his baby. The fact that like he created this world himself, it's not like an existing thing.
Yeah,
is really cool.
that is actually pretty, like there's not a,
Very
no,
cool.
this isn't based off a book.
Nope. Comic
This
book,
is like,
nothing.
yeah, that's a really good point, Josh. Actually, I didn't even think of that. That like this is literally like off some writer. Like I'm not gonna give him 100% of the credit because you know there's all these other people that are
Sure.
involved. But that is actually really amazing. Like you got to think that this is 100% made up. They're going with it as they make it, and you can create that first movie that was like, you know, the step into the world, and then this where I felt like you really got to, and it was only surface level. Like I said, this could be a whole universe, but you got to explore it a little more. You get to see the water people. You get to, I'd love to, I think the third movie, like you said, Mike, though, will be this culmination of them kind of coming together. I think we'll definitely see that. I'd be surprised if we didn't. Even if they don't, I'm sure it'll still be amazing. But
Yeah.
So, couple ththings then.
Yeah.
First, for the third movie or for even the fourth movie, do you think that Sully or Natiri, do you think either of them will be?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see Jake dying. I don't know. Well, so it sucks because like in the first movie we got a ton of Natiri, and I feel like this movie she was kind of sidelined until that last like hour.
Yeah, she really was. That's
but the last hour was sweet. I mean, we mentioned it earlier with that like fight scene where she kind of went crazy with people on the boat, and they kind of had like this far away shot of her the whole time. And then once she kills that last person, they zoom in on her face and she screams, and I love that. And she is like my favorite character in this franchise so far. So it hurts to say, but yeah, I feel like Jake Sully will definitely die, and then she might die too. I mean, I feel like we'll kind of move over to those kids, right? The next generation. So if I had to guess.
I think it's cool though that she's like, you know, all their kids are like hybrid essentially. I think it's cool that she is like actually native Navi, like, you know. I think that's kind of why you got to see her go a little berserk and a little more, you know, a little, because Jake, they do a really good job of that interpretation where you can see that Jake is still human to a degree. I mean, he grew up a human, and where Natiri, you can see that she's more native but a little bit human from the influence. And somehow they, maybe I'm reading into it too deep, but the kids are like the perfect mix of the two of them in between, like not fully native. They still have those human tendencies, but so I don't know.
Well,
it's
that's the thing, right? It's throughout the whole movie. Those two are doing all this and moving their family and stuff in a way to protect their family and protect their kids. And at the end, like we said, the kids end up saving them.
Yeah, which is
it shows that they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what like his speech was at the end, right? About like, no, it's time for us to fight and stop running. So
yeah,
it's crazy to me that like I'm excited for Avatar 3. I
Me
never
too.
thought the words would come out of my mouth. I was like, why the hell are they making more movies?
You know, I'm a little disappointed that I want Aiden and Brian, who aren't on this episode, to see this movie. Maybe they'll listen to it. But because they're the two that are still in the camp of they're not gonna see this and it's stupid and it's too long, and I want them to come through and watch this movie because I mean, all three of us were in that exact same camp too. Just maybe we were a little bit more open to it. I mean, but I really, after seeing that first movie, was like, you know, maybe
Yeah.
this will be all right.
Yeah.
Like I
That's a-
said, I'm ashamed that I even want to go watch it for a second time.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'm even more ashamed that I'm ready for an Avatar
The
3
next
again.
one. Yeah, no, I walked out of the movies today and was like, oh man, it's gonna be so long until I can see the third one of these. Like, it's gonna be so long. Like, I don't know what.
December 2024.
Yeah, okay. Like this one was
Oh.
coming out in whatever 20. When was this movie originally coming out in?
It got pushed back so many times, but I mean, he did film the third one back to back, so like he's done filming it apparently. It's
Okay,
just
so
like,
that one actually may
And
be on some sort of realistic timeline.
and to be fair,
I'd say the next
there
3
may
years.
have been a pandemic. There may have not
Yeah.
been.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I know they're in talks of doing it like back in 2012, 2013. Like it's been
That's
pushed
what I'm
back quite a
saying.
bit.
The
so.
second one's been in development for as
It
long
probably
as.
wouldn't have. It probably wouldn't have been as good, to be honest with you.
Well, like
That's
Mike
true.
said, he needs that new technology.
Yeah, he needed new
that
tech,
look,
so-
and no, and I swallowed my words 2 minutes into the movie, and like that's why I texted you guys when me and Mike finished the movie, because like I was like, it's almost unexplainable of the experience we had, and I feel like we probably should go see it in IMAX 3D because like,
I think that'd be kind of cool.
and you mentioned that, Andrew, yeah, because like I will never forget this movie theater experience. And we were in the theater with probably 20 people. We went in the middle of the day. It wasn't like I said, Wakanda, where everyone's cheering, like, oh my God, that's Thor. Everyone's like going crazy.
Yeah.
Captain America just lifted that hammer like a Thursday night premiere crazy. No, it wasn't that, but like I felt like I was enthralled and like actually in the movie with the 3D,
There was a
the
like
vines, like when the movie starts, they
Yes.
show you like these vines and stuff like that. But and then
You're
there's a
like,
scene too.
whoa.
There's a scene too where like, the Navy SEAL people or whatever are there, the army's there, and they're, avatars or whatever, and they're shooting through the woods, through the forest, and like the bullets are coming out of the screen. Like,
yeah.
so I wear contacts, and when I play video games and stuff like that, sometimes I'll forget to blink, and that happened with this movie. Like I was forgetting to blink because I was looking at everything. My eyes were getting dried out. It's that incredible. Like you do feel invested. I didn't even think once to get up and pee, and it's a 3 hour and 12-minute movie, and
No, me neither.
and it's not like, oh, I didn't want to miss anything. I literally just
So-
forgot because my brain's turned off because I was so invested.
I can say this, and I don't know if I've ever done this. In a movie at least, I did look at. Well, I've looked at my phone in the movies, but where I'm going with this, I did look at my phone to look at the time and go, "Oh man, there's only an hour left." I was
Yeah.
disappointed that there was only an hour left at one point, which
Yeah.
is crazy. I don't think I've ever done that in a movie and thought, fuck, I hope they can like get everything out in this next hour. I wish it had an hour 30 left, hour 20.
That's the thing too, is with me and Mike, there were so many times where we just go like, oh my God, whoa,
Yeah.
damn. Like, and
Literally.
it's not during an action scene, or it's not during like, like a big twist. No,
Yeah.
it was literally just them in the water looking around, or us going through the woods or the forest, and like, or it being nighttime and us looking at the stars. It was so incredible at what we were looking at that was on the screen that me and Mike, like, it took us, right, Mike? We were like, holy shit.
Yeah,
Like just
no,
looking at things.
I can
To be honest with you, the best looking movie I've ever seen, without a doubt.
It's
hands
crazy.
I think
It's hard to
yeah.
explain.
I would agree with that. The thing is like you guys, after you saw it and I kind of heard your thoughts and I went into it and the critic reviews, whatever we said at the beginning, I think it's a 76, Josh, do you know?
Yeah, so
78.
yeah, it's 78 from critics.
78,
Only
and then-
357 reviews.
and
93%
in the
from audience.
90s for the audience. So whenever I go into a movie and I hear about the scores, I try to think, okay, it's going to be somewhere in between the middle of these for me. I feel like that's usually where I fall. I usually fall somewhere in between the critics and the audience because, maybe I'm not as enthralled as the audience, but I'm not as critical as the critics because that's just not who I am. And I came out of this movie falling more towards the audience. I was like pretty blown away. The movie itself, like I said, there's these critiques and little things here and there, but it's just so stunning that you kind of look past that and you just go, yeah, I'll just, write it off.
'Cause
As,
let's
that's
be
a little
honest
bit
too, the
stupid.
plot is a basic story, right? It's just
It
a family
is,
trying
yeah.
to protect their kids, and a man's being hunted and things like that, right? So it is a basic plot. It's not this like insanely complex story.
Yeah, there's
but,
no
like,
huge twist or anything. Like
no.
you can kind of play this movie out in your head of how you think it'll. I mean, The sun dying caught me off guard. But you can kind of feel like there's gonna be some emotion. You kind of have a gist of how it's gonna go, but you can't explain how beautiful it's gonna be going into it. And when every other scene, you're like, holy shit, this is amazing that this is, computer generated, and that the fine detail. I can't imagine that doing anything with water and computer graphics is easy at all. Just from my little bit of knowledge about computers and stuff like that, that is very hard to do. And this felt like it was filmed in real life.
Yeah.
They were apparently in like this big tank, and they would film for like 8-10 hours at a time.
Oh.
And from what I read and from what I've heard from other people, so it's just crazy how that almost looks better than some people's fucking pictures on Instagram or Snapchat. Like, honest to God.
Yeah, it's computer made.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty awesome.
Well, that's the thing too. I like how they didn't have them like talking underwater or anything. Like they did sign language and stuff like that. Like I like the
that might have
choices
looked
they
cheesy,
made, right? Yeah. And even like the fish with the wings and stuff like that, that was sweet. I thought that was so cool. Just watching them try to adapt to the water. I love the water stuff.
I think it's really cool, like you said though, Josh, that this is all, I mean, they had to, these fish and all these, it's all made up. They had to come up with all these details, how all this stuff was going to look. It's not like you can go find one of those fucking whales and tokens down the street or even in the goddamn ocean. Like, it doesn't exist, at least that I know of.
So one thing we didn't talk about, Kiri, her, I don't want to say ability by any means, but she definitely has something going on with her. I think that is a little bit different than most people with healing, the way she connects to the grandmother. I forgot what's the name for that.
Like the spiritual being.
Yeah, there's like their
Aya or Enya.
Like the you know what I'm talking about.
Let's go with
like
Aya. And someone can rip us
all high power.
Yeah, I think it's Aya.
What do you think is going on with her?
Yeah, I don't know, because she had the thing underwater, right? The what do they call it again?
The spiritual tree.
Yeah, but
she had like a seizure.
Seizure, yeah. She had the seizure underwater, right? And they said like if she does that again underwater, she might die. And I thought the movie was gonna go in that direction.
So did I, actually.
And she didn't end up having a seizure again underwater, but I thought that's where they were leading things.
Yeah, I liked that. Well, she also had, her mother isn't really her mother kind of thing, right? Isn't her mother actually that
technically
scientist?
Her mother is Sigourney Weaver's character from the first movie, which is a scientist, and her name is Grace.
Yeah.
And so technically,
and we'd never find out who the father is. It's just like,
but
Norm.
Kiri is still played by Sigourney Weaver, so
I think it's just a little bit of a de-aging CGI probably with that. But
yeah,
Norm, the fucking guy that plays in Grandma's Boy and Dodgeball, the game designer tech, I am not a virgin. That guy, they were making fun of her for possibly knocking out Grace, and that's her dad. I thought that was so
I like that.
Funny.
They're like, hey, you spend a lot of time together.
He's even in the back right there in that video.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like that they, they set this up with a couple things, like her, I guess, ability or power or whatever's going on there, unanswered. But I'm okay with that. We got to see it, and I believe that it'll be explored more. It was cool. She gets to the you could tell she was a little different from the rest of the family, because she gets to once they're at the water clan, and she's like natural. She doesn't have a problem breathing. She's like she's talking to the fish. I mean, she's hanging out. She's ready to go. Yeah, she's a natural. And I think you get to see at one point the queen, the mother of the like water clan. I can't think of her name. But she actually she actually witnesses her kind of playing with the fish, and I think has some extra appreciation and understanding for like oh, the tree people, maybe they can get along here. Like maybe there is some. So I liked that she was kind of like an extra bridge for the Sully family. She was this extra person that could connect a little bit more with the water.
You know what's
You go
no,
ahead,
go
Mike.
on. No, go on.
I was just gonna say I like that they made the water tribe look a little different with the lighter blue, and they had a little bit thicker arms,
too.
and then the different tail. I like how they weren't just like, oh, they look exactly like, the forest tribe, but like they're just better in the water. I like how they made them look a little bit different, but they're still avatars.
It made it
They're
easier
still
to
Navi.
differentiate.
Yeah, like it's cool.
So I don't remember from the first movie then. Do they foreshadow or give any type of like clue as to there might be other, clans out there or villages out there that may be different?
I don't think so. I just watched the first one and I don't remember that at all. I thought that was cool how they just kind of introduced it, but at the same time I was like, oh, they could have maybe,
it almost makes me think and even want more of like an exploration of like the different villages and the different clans.
Yeah, and how they live. Oh, and when Quidditch shows up with like I know we're fucking up the names here. Shows up with like the Navy and he's burning down these villages and stuff, and essentially the leader of the water people said like, I told no one to say anything. I was like, oh fuck, like he's literally like he's got his back now. But that was emotional. You felt bad too, like there's some on Jake's shoulders too, because he's like, fuck, like people are possibly that's why he's like, has anyone been hurt or killed yet? He said no, not yet.
That'd be blood on his hands.
Yeah, and I think that's why he asked that, because he's like, okay, well at least I don't have that yet. But I was like, fuck, like I think that's cool too, like the loyalty of these villages. He was like, nope, I told no one to speak up, basically. And I thought that was cool how they kind of introduced that character. They say like, oh, he's this fearless leader and very oriented to keep his people protected.
Well, I like how Jake is such a legend too. Like everyone knew who
Jake
was
knew
even when he arrived, right? So I mean that's why they allowed him and his family to stay there. They probably wouldn't have if it wasn't, the Jake Sully. So I think that's pretty cool too, how he is this legend. Even like in a completely different tribe, right?
Yeah, no, that is cool. So that must mean that there's some connection or some communication amongst the different tribes,
and there has to be different ones. Maybe
could be
it's like a volcano, fiery one. Yeah.
They
could get real creative
on some legit Avatar: The Last Airbender ass shit, like for real, like all the different elements.
But it makes sense that there's different tribes out there. I mean, I was kind of shocked that they didn't. Well, I guess they do, because I was like, when they first arrive, I'm like, oh, they speak the exact same language as them, but then they have that underwater language, right? So I guess they do.
They're making the kids are like, oh, we don't speak with our hands.
yeah. So I thought that was really cool too. So, but it makes sense. Different community and different communities, right? I don't know. It is crazy that he just made this whole world like himself. And is just writing it as he goes, and
I can do it better.
Yeah.
No, it really does piss me off that James Cameron. Okay, so this is one thing I actually want to talk about.
Yeah,
like you said, Andrew, this plot is pretty basic and not predictable in a sense, but like you can almost tell what's gonna happen at the end.
Yeah,
and I think the reason this movie is so fucking good is just because how it looks.
Yeah,
and that's why like it pisses me off when he gets arrogant and cocky, because buddy, guess what? Like, you're not that just all genius. Like, I guarantee you,
your plot is
the same type of technology. Like, they would do just as well. And that's what pisses me off so much about James Cameron.
But it could also be, his maybe it's his eye and his attention to detail that makes these so good, in his direction.
He's great.
Yeah,
I'll give it to him. He's great.
He's producing some pretty good work. And like I said, I know there's a ton of people that go into the production of these movies. So like a lot of appreciation to all these other senior people and just the lower on the totem pole people that are making these happen, because it's pretty awesome movie.
VFX teams.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hopefully they're not,
they're working Marvel hours. 80,
I hope not. Jeez, I hope. Well, if they're on the James Cameron schedule, they've got plenty of time at least, I hope.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we kind of hit everything, right?
Yeah, I want to
one more thing. Well, actually two more things before we go. One, one thing that kind of made me a little upset that I didn't like was how Loke was kind of seen as the outcast. I
Mhm.
thought it was more Kiri. I thought
I
that she
agree
should have
with
been.
that.
I think she should have been explored more as the outcast compared to Loke, because like it didn't really make sense. Like he was the troublemaker, like he was funny, like I didn't really view him as an outcast, and I really didn't like that part of.
I think he just tries to do things on his own, thinks he's always right, whereas she's kind of more
Yeah.
kept to herself and still mature enough to take care of her younger sister and, will still hang out with her friends. But like, he's like,
He's just different. She's more
yeah,
of an outcast in my
He's
opinion.
just not. He's like he's that typical like middle child, just kind of, I don't know, immature. Doesn't have that.
lash out.
That's yeah. It doesn't have the seniority of the older brother. Wasn't the first, but still a boy. And he's kind of. I thought they were gonna explore some sort of like teenage romance between the two.
I bet they will in the next
Yeah,
movie
from
They
the from
100% will.
the yeah. I was like,
to
yeah,
connect the tribes,
yeah,
and
because
then
you
that's when they'll
see
go
when
to
they
war.
get here, is it Loke that's given their the eyes? Yeah, he's
She comes out of the water.
yeah.
I thought the bigger brother was gonna pull her at first, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, they're gonna, and that's an easy spin to connect the tribes if the two of them actually get together.
Yeah.
Well,
Especially since she's like the princess, right? Of the,
Yep.
princess, whatever you want to call it.
whatever you call it. Yeah. The
Last
tribe
thing
leader's
here.
daughter.
Last thing here before we get into some reviews and scores. Do you guys think this will be the #1 grossing movie of all time when it's all said and done?
Ooh.
I don't think so. I don't think
don't
it'll
think so.
pass the original Avatar.
Yeah.
Or maybe Endgame, but I think it will be top 3 or 4 of all time.
Yeah,
It's
a top
hard to
fiver.
rate this. Yeah, it's hard to rank this because like the they projected it originally to do 500 million worldwide in the first weekend, and it just hit it on day 5, but it's still doing better than what most anticipated it doing. So it's kind of like up in the air. I know like there's people like us who were kind of haters going into it, and now we all plan on maybe going to see it again. So
I think you got to get a lot of people on board. And
ticket prices are more
Brian.
expensive. Yeah, ticket prices are more expensive than a normal movie too. They're charging an extra $1 or $2 depending on what theater you go to for this movie because it's longer and the type of movie it is, I guess. Some movies have done this recently where they charge a little bit extra to go see. But still, even those few dollars with millions and millions of people builds up over time, right? So
Yeah.
But
yeah.
To give my answer, I think it'll be a top 3 for sure.
Mhm.
I think it has a chance of getting #1 though, to be honest with you.
Really?
I really do.
It wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't shock me either. And I think it might have that Top Gun effect where like that word of mouth travels where like, hey, like this thing is like a must see, like this is beautiful. The story is better than the first one. Like I think people will kind of catch on to that a little bit. And I really do think it's a 50-50. Like it really might take first.
That's a good point,
Yeah.
Mike. Is it comparing like at least just movie seeing, not that the movies are compared, but Top Gun, like originally when that came out, like we had no intention of
We didn't
that
see
at
it till like
all.
what? The 3rd, 4th week?
Yeah, like we had no intention of seeing that, and not to spoil next week's episode of top 10 movies we're gonna all get out, but that's in my top 10 movies of this year for sure.
And another spoiler, that's in my top 5 at the bare minimum. So.
That was a pretty awesome movie, and I did not expect to go into that movie.
And it was the first one to hit $1 billion in 2022.
Yeah, so
Two.
maybe I need to just keep my expectations lower because this kind of movie did the same thing. I went into it with not high expectations and pretty much blown away.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's a good life lesson here. We'll kind of take a step back from small guys and we'll go therapy here. Lower your expectations for some things if you want to get some enjoyment out of stuff. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't disappoint
judge a book
yourself
by its cover.
Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't
Yeah.
disappoint yourself before you do something.
Small is very subjective,
Mhm.
Medium size for some people, maybe even large for another person. You never know. Like it's
Yeah,
subjective.
Yeah, so to get in the ring, I'll go first.
Okay.
Like I said, I mean, seeing that movie will be unforgettable for me. The experience of the way it looked, I believe we experienced double frame rate in the theater that we were in. A lot of movies don't do that because most theaters don't support it. And sometimes some that do, the movies can give people headaches sometimes. But I think the way it worked here, I think it was noticeable. I think it was great. The 3D, I am not a fan of 3D movies. And the first Avatar is the reason 3D movies really became as big as they did because the way it was executed back in 2009. But this didn't really feel like 3D. It felt like something almost unexplainable, like 4D or something like that, right? It's like hard to explain, but it's not normal 3D. So, but yeah, you feel immersed. And like I said, I literally I was forgetting to blink while watching this movie. It was awesome. The third act, even half the second act, like the last half of that movie is like nonstop fun and action. And once they get to the water section of the movie, it was like awesome, amazing. And even the beginning was great. Just to like we said, the picking a few things like with the spider relationship with his dad, it was like, was that well earned enough? That final battle, where did the water tribe go halfway through? Because I was thinking that even before the movie ended, I was like, where are they? Like they would be some help right now. So there is like these little few things that I have to kind of nitpick and pull back at, and how I feel about the movie. The plot was what it was. It was kind of a basic story, but it worked out great. I like the kids a lot more. This movie is definitely better than the first movie. Yeah. I like these kid characters a lot. They're a lot more they're not forgettable. I'll say that, like how the first movie.
Yeah, the names are a little hard, but
the names are a little hard, but yeah, you won't forget the people and the connections you make from this movie. And like I said, the fact that I went to an Avatar movie and it made me like cry is insane. So with that being said, I can't give it a perfect score or anything like that, but it is probably top 3 movie of the year. So I'm going to give it a 95. I really like this movie a lot. I think it looked amazing. Yeah. I wrote down so this is one of the few movies I usually do it with like the Marvel movies a lot and stuff like that, but I'll watch reviews of the movie on YouTube and stuff like that. I wrote down my score before watching any of those guys, but they all kind of, I was happy to see that they kind of all had the same opinion that like I know me and Mike had when we were walking out of there, is how amazing the experience of seeing it was. And like, it was pretty much worth the wait of over a decade of waiting for the sequel, and how they're really excited for the third movie. And that's kind of how I feel. So yeah, I'd give it a 95. And I'm sure this will pop up in my list next week.
Okay. Well, I will go second. I will piggyback off Josh because I know Andrew likes to finish this off. Of course. Just a little bit of a dirty pleasure of his, but besides the point here. But based on your reaction, Andrew, I think we all 3 might have the same fucking score. Because I'm gonna start it off. I gave this movie a 95 too. I thought of I did my score before we started this, obviously, but I think the biggest thing between this movie and the first movie is just the emotional connection. And I think James Cameron and the people that were involved with this film kind of took that in consideration when writing the plot and just making this movie in general. The first Avatar looks amazing, not too much substance to the plot and the characters. And I think that because of just that feedback from the first one, they kind of dove a little bit more into that. And it's evident with just our whole talk that we've had for probably an over plus now about this movie. I was a James Cameron hater before this podcast. And to be honest with you, I'm still a James Cameron hater, just a little bit less with with this good movie that we just watched. There is a lot to talk about, but pretty much Josh summed it up really good. But just the emotional side of this movie, the fact that I'm excited for another Avatar after seeing the second one, and the fact that I want to see it again before it leaves the theater, and just how much I enjoyed the movie experience, I think alone can kind of let me get past some of the nitpick stuff that we've talked about throughout this past hour with the story and how more of a basic plot it was. But go fucking see this movie. I was a hater,
especially
before,
in 3D.
Especially in 3D and IMAX. Like, go fucking see this movie. You will not be disappointed. At the bare minimum, you have a good time just looking at it. If you don't like what it's actually saying and feeling, by all means, that's a whole different story. But
the action is badass.
Yeah, this movie looks so fucking good. Just go watch it, please.
Yeah, before Andrew said anything, because I know he just saw it. Me and Mike saw it yesterday, and I don't know how you feel, Mike, but like, today even I was thinking about it a lot, and not because we were doing this episode, just because like what the movie like did, and like even me driving home yesterday, I was like, wow, like I just experienced something. So that is like that's crazy to say about a movie. So
Yeah. I will piggyback, jump rope, and finish us off here. I did, disclaimer, originally have this as a 95 as well. I'm gonna give it a 96 just to be petty. But I did actually have the exact, so I'm going 96 though. I'm gonna go 1 point up on these guys because I share the exact same experience as them. This movie is incredible. It is absolutely stunning. It is in my head, I tell myself anything over 95 is a must see. It's you have to at least see it once. One thing about this movie, I don't know if it has a ton of rewatch value once it's at home. It has a ton of rewatch value on the big screen. Seeing it in 3D.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't have a full, $25,000 cinema setup here at home, so I can't create the exact same experience. But this is a movie that you have to see. Another thing that we didn't touch on that I just kind of thought about, this movie doesn't have any kind of like back end kind of political or checkbox kind of feeling to it we didn't actually mention that there didn't nowhere in this movie did I feel like that was a forced scene to check some boxes for something, which unfortunately you see a lot in bigger movie releases. Not every movie, but especially usually the big releases, some of the Marvel movies,
even Star Wars.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like they're putting that that event there to check a box for the time that we're in. I didn't feel that at all in this movie. I felt like I was fully engulfed in this new made up universe that, I mean, I guess there's one movie before this. This second movie is definitely better than the first. If you've seen the first movie and you're like, it was okay. And you know what, maybe you're like, yeah, it was cool. It was, pretty movie, but the movie was all right. Watch this movie. It is absolutely awesome. It does have that same kind of plot, like we said, where the plot is it's not anything groundbreaking. It's been written before, I'm sure, somewhere else. But how stunning this movie is, see it in 3D. If you don't like 3D like me, see it in 3D. You should still go see it. And without a doubt, it's definitely one that I would see again, at least in theaters. I don't know about at home, like I said, but I'm looking forward to the third one, and I'm excited to see what they come out with.
I wonder how it plays like if you didn't even see it in 3D, like on a big screen in general.
I imagine
I'm sure
still
it's
pretty
great.
amazing.
Yeah, but like to experience it with the 3D and in the IMAX, it's like wow.
Epic. Yeah, you get
the
epic, extra little things that, I mean, they put detail into that stuff when they create these movies. They get those certificates. This movie's got the Dolby Vision certification. That means that they, from my understanding, use certain cameras and lighting techniques and stuff like that. So I'm sure this has every single certification across the board. And that's another reason that it looks so stunning. But
and that's the thing, dude. Like if you are a movie fan, just go see it, because that's how insane it is. It's an event. It's an experience.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty confident in saying that Aiden and Brian will bite their tongues on their opinions here if they go see this one. They're gonna
because I text in the group chat and I say, that was one of the best experiences I've ever had in a movie theater, and they're thinking, oh, well, you like this more than Infinity War and any movie you've ever seen. No, that's not. That's not what I'm saying. It's the experience is insane.
Is incredible
from the movie. Yes. So
okay. Before you go, Andrew, I have to say this because
Yeah.
not only did you two do it multiple times in this episode, Aiden and Brian just did it. Compare everything to fucking Marvel.
Marvel.
I get roasted for it. And both
Yes.
you guys did it multiple times this episode. And not only did you guys do it on this episode, but within our group chat,
I did.
Andrew and Aiden, the one fucking person that fucking roasts me for it. Oh, he compares it to fucking Marvel himself. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
I knew. So I knew.
Guys.
I knew after we left the theater, like I'm gonna have to mention
Mike,
Marvel
fair.
because like when I think before seeing this movie, when I think of my favorite Marvel or my favorite movie experiences, they come from mainly Marvel movies, mainly.
Yeah.
Like I said with the Wakanda scene, like people stood up and cheered and went crazy and stuff like that. So those things are kind of unforgettable, and
Yeah,
And
because
so I
that's
knew I was going to have to mention it. Plus, with the
Yeah.
box office numbers, right? I mean, Endgame's number 2 and Avatar's 1. Is that so? Like, I knew
Just because
two
of the
there.
re-release.
Yeah, the
Again,
re-release. But
I'm
still,
gonna
like,
say
that's
multiple
another thing.
times before we end this. Fuck James Cameron for that, but go on.
Yeah, but that's another thing where I was like, we're gonna have to mention Marvel movies there too. So I knew it'd come up, especially for this episode. So
that's fair, Mike. That is
I
yeah.
needed to get that off my chest. Because
You're good.
I was gonna say it multiple times throughout this podcast, but just the fact that you brought up Aiden and Brian comparing Avatar 2, Infinity War, and Endgame just makes my heart so warm. You have no idea.
Yeah, well, you can roast them a little bit more in the next episode that we do.
Yeah.
No,
Fair.
but yeah, to bring this episode to a close, Tuesday we're off with Christmas and everything, so no rewind Tuesday. And Friday we're doing something kind of different. Just to kind of say what it is, top 10 movie list, and a little bit more. So definitely tune into that without spoiling anything too much. But we're really excited about that. But yeah, if you're listening to this before Christmas, Merry Christmas. After Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yes.
So
And
Christmas,
before we end this
happy
podcast,
holidays.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And as much as I liked Avatar 2, which you should go see in theaters, it's still fuck James Cameron. Never get that.
All right, boys.
All right.
All right, boys.
See ya.
I'll see you guys.
Peace.